Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lit Podcast Live Tuesday Night Tea. I am your host, Juana Lyles, and tonight we are going to be talking about back to school stress and anxiety. Reminder, I am using StreamYard to broadcast so that we could be on multiple platforms. So please, if you would like to join in on this discussion, please allow StreamYard to access your name so that I can see who you are. Okay. They're not going to do anything with your personal stuff or anything like that, but just it's so that we can be engaging. They need your permission. And hello, mother. I see that you are waiting on me, and I'm going to do a birthday shout out, y'all, this week. Let me tell you, this week my family, we got the whole first week of August on lockdown. So tonight is my aunt's birthday. So happy birthday. Um, I'm gonna tell y'all her nickname, but her real name is Valrice. But happy birthday, and wee. Tomorrow is my nephew's birthday. Adonis. So happy birthday, Adonis. Then on the 3rd is my granddaughter's birthday. So happy birthday to you, Kavea. And then on the 4th is my husband's birthday. So happy birthday, Damon. Yeah, so everybody's birthday is like this week. It's crazy. And then later in this week, my grandmother and my great grandmother would have had birthdays too. But happy birthday to both of them in heaven. Um, it's just a Oh, also my good friend. I know she watches sometimes. Her husband's been on the show, but Christy, her birthday is also tomorrow. It's just like all week is birthday for August. I guess it's Leo season, right? So turn up Leos. But you guys, tonight we're gonna be talking about back to school stress and anxiety. Hey coach, what's up? Y'all, this is real. Um, I was recognizing that I was having it. And then my friend, um, Tanisha, which she may come on or not. And y'all, she always chimes in because she's also a school counselor. But she's also doing her PhD program. So, she was like, girl, it ain't no joke. And I start my PhD program on the 16th. Hey Michelle. So I started recognizing that I personally was having anxiety and stress, right? And I'm old, not for real, but I'm 47. And I was like, I had a moment where I was just like, dude, like, what you thinking about? Like, you 47, you gonna graduate when you 50. And then all this stuff was just going through my head, right? And I mean, it's a proud moment for my family, yes. But it's just like, what are you thinking about? But needless to say, some of the symptoms that I was having: trouble concentrating, trouble remembering things, feeling so disorganized and just disjointed altogether, right? And not having trouble focusing on things, sleep issues, all because of this stress and anxiety about going to school. But I wasn't sure what it was like. At first, I wasn't really sure. And so I figure if I was having that, because I'm going back to school after all these years, I'm sure many kids do. And I haven't really thought about it because my kids are grown. My baby's going to be 24 next month. So I haven't had to have a little one there. And then the other day, my daughter and I, we were talking because my grandson, he's 3, but he needs to move up to the big boy class, right? And y'all, this was so precious. He was, he has to move up to the big boy class. My daughter thought they were going to ease him into it, which is one of the tips that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. But, they just kind of took him out of the class and put him in the new class. And he was there all day. It wasn't like a gradual thing. It wasn't, like let's step it up or whatever. So remember, he's 3, but he's like one of the most intellectual children that I know. So anyhow, my poor baby, he tells his mom the next day. He's like, it's, they're getting ready. He's taking his time. He just doesn't want to go, but she doesn't know that yet. And so he's just kind of dragging, and she's getting his sister together. and he can kind of do his stuff by himself, but he still was like, "Mommy, I don't feel good." So she's like, "Oh, buddy, what's wrong?" He's like, "My tummy hurt." And so she says, "What's wrong with your tummy? You feel sick?" Like she's confused at this point. And he says, "Yeah, I don't want to go to daycare," right? Because we say school, but that boy is like, "No, I go to daycare." So he's like, "I don't want to go." And so she's like, "Yeah, you gotta go." And he actually named the guy and said he doesn't want to go to the guy's class, right? I don't want to put the guy out there like that, but it was just because this environment was different for him. It's outside of his routine. But she talked to him, and this was the sweetest part. She talked to him and she was like, "No, but buddy, you got to go to the big boy class now. You're a big boy and all this kind of stuff. You're growing up." Keyword, growing up. Well, later on, this baby, he had sense enough to say, "Well, I don't want to grow up. I want to grow down." And it just blessed my heart. The poor little baby. I just felt so, I laughed, but it's not really funny. But the point is that I want y'all to know that he had sense enough to say, "Hey, here's a reason I don't have to go to this place because my stomach hurts," right? Um, and then later on saying that he wanted to grow down instead of grow up because he didn't want to go to the class. And remember, he's 3. So that brings me to this next little part of it. When you think about some of the symptoms. So remember I shared some of my symptoms of having trouble concentrating and focusing on things, feeling all out of whack, like not organized and all that kind of stuff. Well, kids experience some other like similar symptoms, and I'm going to get right into them in just a moment, but I wanted to share some of these statistics with you because this doesn't just affect little children or older people returning to school like me, but it's all ranges of people going to school, whether it's the children, the teenagers, and even the parents. So here I go with these statistics, right? So according to the Anxiety and Depression Association of Americas, the ADAA, they say that anxiety disorders are one of the most common mental health problems on college campuses, which I know. Um, but it says 30% of college students report that stress negatively impacts their academic performance. 85% of college students report feeling overwhelmed by everything they have to do. And 6% list anxiety as their top concern. And then 5% of college students reported taking some type of psychotropic medication to help with their anxiety or depression. So that's a lot. Like that 85%, so that's almost all of them, right? That feel overwhelmed by everything they have to do. And that's a lot, when you think about it, but we're all like, well, that's adulting. Welcome to adulting. But truth be told, I think that this is a personal opinion. These, children today, hey, honey, children today have so many different stressors from so many different angles. And, we talk about it a lot on here, but like the internet and their access to so much, whereas when I was growing up, we didn't have that same access to everything, so that can create a lot of anxiety. We hear about, school shootings and it's like right there, everything makes the news. There's a shooting down the street, there's something, right? So and these kids, they all have one of these things. So I mean, I'm talking about little kids. So the same little news feed that I get that says, all this bad news, they get it too. So I can only imagine why some of them wouldn't. I can't. I mean, why wouldn't you have anxiety? I have anxiety. I don't even want to watch the news. But just knowing that they have access to all those things. But we'll move right on along. So, some of the things that children, like some of the symptoms that they may exhibit, especially when you think about what anxiety is, right? Anxiety needs structure. That's the main thing with anxiety. You need structure You need to kind of know what's going on, and routines help with that. So here comes, we've been in summer all, maybe some of us got a summer break and we went on vacation, we got to do stuff, and but many of us, we're still working, right? So our routine hasn't really changed, but for these children it has changed. Summer's been fun, and so now we got to go back to school, right? And so some of the things that might help you to recognize if your child is having some issues is if they start having tantrums, especially when it's time to drop off, or drop off to school, or to like the before school programs or stuff like that. Then, and this is mostly for little kids, right? They might have difficulty getting along with some of their family members or friends, so they might be a little more defiant, talking back, just being a little snippy, right? They could also avoid normal activities inside and outside of school. And then, like I said about my grandson, like having stomach aches. For me as a counselor, children, that's like one of their main symptoms when they have anxiety, is they say their stomach hurts, right? It's because they don't really know how to express anxiety in many ways. So that's where they have a physical symptom, if that makes sense, right? They also could have fatigue and trouble sleeping, especially sleeping alone. Okay. Like they might want to stay up and instead of go to sleep. So if a child continues to complain about any physical symptoms, that's when I would suggest to you to like investigate it a little bit more, because it could just be the school that's causing the anxiety, or they could actually have a real anxiety disorder or some other issue. So for instance, like a child with OCD, meaning obsessive compulsive disorder, they might avoid going to school because it's hard for them to manage their anxiety there, because there's so many kids everywhere, there's this stuff, that stuff, my stuff, your stuff, their stuff, and stuff is just everywhere, and it's not convenient, or if they have certain kind of routine or thing that they do with their OCD, it might be hard, especially like with germs or something like that. You can't like constantly wash your hands, or whatever their OCD might be. So anyway, that's it could be difficult for them. What about a child who's been bullied, right? They might really be afraid to go to school, because that's where the people are that always picked on me, that tormented me, that would fight me, that would pull my hair, that talked about my clothes or whatever. That's where that happened. So there's anxiety about going back to that place, knowing that those same people are there, right? Then a child with separation anxiety, they might be afraid that something terrible will happen if they separate from their mom or dad or their caregiver, right? And so that's all. I know all of these things are mental type things, but these are real for children. Children with an undiagnosed learning disorder might also be avoiding shame or embarrassment. I know that some of the children that I have worked with in the past, they didn't necessarily have like a learning disorder, but they have more of like okay, for me, for example, I started wearing glasses when I was 6, so they figured it out way early, right? But some of I remember being at school, and my husband and I were just talking about this the other day. Like, you go in, everybody was lined up in the cafeteria in different little groups, and there's somebody that like checked your eyes, checked you for lice. They did like check your teeth, all these different kind of things, right? So we knew early that like I knew I needed glasses. But now that kind of stuff, if you don't have good insurance, you pretty much not going to the doctor to get checked for anything, right? And depending on how much you got a copay. So when you think about that, some kids may need glasses, and it's hard for them to see, so they can't read the board, they can't see that far, because we still using chalkboards, y'all. but but they may not be able to see, they may be having trouble reading or whatever it is because they just need glasses. So they act out because they're bored and they don't know what they're doing, right? So that's just, I know I went on a little tangent, but just know that there's other reasons that kids might be having the anxiety. Now, I want to talk about teens real quick because I'm trying to cover everybody in our short time. So teens, there's a lot of different things that involve anxiety for teens, especially, right? As they're growing, their hormones are changing and all of the things, right? So if a child's anxiety is connected with school directly, then they might go through what's known as school refusal. School refusal is basically refusing to get out of bed. They're not going to get ready in the morning. And that's when, like me as a therapist, that's when I hear from your parents because, or you as the parent, because you're like, I don't know what's wrong with the kid. They won't get up. My child won't go to school because of anxiety, right? So it's a school refusal is what could be happening there. And teens with anxiety disorders also struggle with feelings of tension and fear. And so those symptoms can be ongoing and they'll interfere with daily activities, but they also affect relationships with their family members, with their friends. You'll see some different types of behaviors when it's like a certain type of anxiety disorder. The most common one is generalized anxiety disorder, right? But they could just be having social phobia, a social anxiety, right? So it just depends on what's going on with the teen. So I would encourage you that if you start recognizing some differences in your teens, especially about like not wanting to go back to school, things like that, something could have happened to them at school. And I don't mean to trigger anybody. So, there have been recently on the news, I've seen where teachers or other authority figures have been assaulting or harassing or doing something with a child that they have no business doing. um, I've actually witnessed to some degree a bus monitor beating a child on the bus with the belt, and the child was a child with autism. So people out there, you just don't know, right? So listen to your child. So that I'm gonna go ahead on because I'm already going into the tips. So that's the main thing for me out of all the tips that I can tell you is listen to your child. Sometimes we just kind of brush things off and we're just like, you'll be all right, don't worry about it, and we invalidate their feelings. But I want to encourage you to listen to your child. You don't have to give them any kind of leading words like, you have an anxiety about going to school. You don't have to say anything like that, but just ask them, how do you feel about going back to school? Like, now you're asking an open ended question rather than a leading type of question, right? Um, so that's my number one thing is just listen to them because they can tell you what they're worried about and then you can validate that and it's real to them. That's the thing. I want you to know it's real to them, whether it's a child, an adolescent, or a college student, whatever that your child is, that's or whatever grade level or school that they're about to attend, their worries are really concerning to them. That's their reality. So just listen to them and you could more than likely work it out and figure out what's really going on. And if there's other underlying conditions, then you could get them help for that because that might be all it is. Okay? Um some of the reasons that kids might worry, especially the younger ones, are there's a new teacher. There, I'm going to high school now. I'm going to have more homework, right? I might not make the basketball team or the volleyball team or the track team, whatever, the fall sport, the debate team, whatever that is, right? Also, a lot with the friends. That's another big thing is the friends, and their friends have crises and issues. Earlier this year, I spoke to some children at a school, and that was one of the things. A friend was going through some kind of crisis, but it was impacting the whole friend group. And so that's a lot for a child, because I'm just there to get my little homework in and pass my grades and graduate. But just like we have issues and concerns and problems on a daily basis, so do they. So just listen seriously to them, okay? Another thing that you could do is, especially now that school, like my daughter's school, they're starting tomorrow actually. But if you have enough time, which should be maybe about a week for mostly everybody else, a week at least, maybe two if you can, before school, start prepping your children for that transition. So start back there. We've had summer break. Now you went to bed whenever you went to bed, but now we got to start going back to bed at 9, or whatever that looks like. Have those morning routines down, like for breakfast, and those nighttime routines, and set a realistic bedtime and a bedtime that's age appropriate. Do you really want to have your teen going to bed at 7 when they probably get out of school and get home off the bus by 4, and then they still got homework or something like that, and you still got to eat, and then you telling them to go to bed at 7? So just have a realistic bedtime and age appropriate bedtime. And something else you could do is select the clothes you're going to wear for tomorrow and have them ready before. And if you want to be extra, go on and get your clothes ready for the week, if you want to. So for smaller children, you could arrange for some play dates, even for maybe middle school children. I don't want to say play dates, but meetups with some of their friends that maybe they haven't connected with over the summer, but they can start having those little meetups and start to kind of rekindle their friendships, especially if they weren't able to see some of their friends. And there's some other research that shows that the presence of a familiar peer during school transitions can improve a child's academic and emotional adjustment. So at least you have like somebody and you can find out. I remember going to school and like at the end of summer, we were like we had to walk to school. So we was walking to school, and they would have like all your classes in elementary school anyway. They would have them whose teacher, what your name would be, where your teacher would be. Like you could go look on this window and see like, oh, fifth grade, oh, I'm going to this teacher's class, and you can see all your friends. So we would all meet up just to go do that. So if you can arrange for some time with some friends before school starts. Also, if you can visit the school, that would be really great. I know when I was younger, they had with open house, where you could go in, walk the halls, meet the teacher and all that kind of stuff. Now I think they just call it like a meet the teacher or something like that. So, if you can, please go to those things. Those are so important for your children because, that kind of helps to familiarize them with the teacher. So it's not a whole new face. Even for high school, like we've always taken our children to those first, whatever they call them now, I don't know, but the before school starts thing, so that you could get your schedule, get all your like orientation kind of thing. And so I'm so thankful that even personally, I'm going to have an orientation because I've never been to this university other than like for quick little things. And I'm just like, I don't know. And it's a big university. And so I'm going to have to figure that out. Right. So, but going ahead and having these different orientations, we're going to have like a graduate breakfast and a meet and greet and all this different kind of stuff, which is great because then it will make me more comfortable. So if it would do the same thing for your children, if you can go and meet their teacher, okay, and see their classroom so they'll know. And then another thing I want to add is if you know that your child will have some issues, adjusting, they have a little bit of anxiety or a lot of bit of anxiety, then let somebody know at the school, a nurse, the school psychologist, the principal, the assistant principal, the teacher, and you can arrange for like a handoff. So that way, in the morning they go see Miss Lyles, and then she's gonna have an activity for them to go do to kind of get their mind off of it, and they feel important, like they're helping to do something, right? So it's not just like go in this big old school and you're just lost to nothing. So you could do that for especially the younger ones. And then lastly, like you could come up with a prize or a rewarding activity that the child could earn from, like separating. I really had to do that with my son, not so much my daughter, but it's like, okay, when we finish with school, we're gonna be able to go and get ice cream, or we're gonna be able to go get popcorn, or something like that. So they have something to look forward to when they get picked up. But also be careful with that too. As parents, some of your stress, you worry about your kids. But remember, your kids are going to be all right if you're all right. So if you're breathing, they're breathing. Put your oxygen mask on first, right? And then they'll be okay. So have some good role modeling for them. If they don't have to deal with your stress, then they can deal a little bit more with theirs, right? So they won't focus on yours. And remember that some of these anxieties and things like that, they roll downhill. So, I have anxiety, so then my kids have anxiety because they see me not able to cope and deal with my own stress and my own emotions. Okay. So just be a good role model. Y'all could do some breathing exercises. Like one that I posted last week was that box breathing exercise, which is really good for that. And it helps you to relax. Okay. So some breathing exercises, do that together during the school year. Make sure y'all eat together. Um, we all know that saying, a family that prays together stays together, but stay connected and eat at the dinner table at least 1 or 2 nights. We ate at the dinner table every night, even every night for real, when I was growing up. And then I tried to, like, we did that with our own children, even if it's McDonald's. Lord, don't eat no McDonald's today, but even if it was like a fast food, we would sit at the table and eat that. It was kind of fun when you could go sit around the TV and eat somewhere in the living room. But try to eat as a family, that, and talk about how the school year is going and their day-to-day life. And that helps them to feel important and cared for as well, that they matter. Y'all work on some self-care strategies together. Make sure that everybody's getting good sleep, good nutrition. Breakfast really is an important meal, even though personally I skip it sometimes, but it's still important. So we have to feed ourselves, feed our brains. So just make sure you have some good, healthy nutrition and sleep routines and hygiene. And then, let's see. Lastly, I want to just talk about some, like, going out in nature and just being, that helps. Just going outside sometimes. It helps with stress and depression and anxiety as well. So when you're not in school, have them go walk, just go stand outside, go play outside, instead of being on their video games and things like that and isolating themselves, especially for like the older kids. And even for us, people that are going back to college, these are all good things that you can do. Maybe add in some yoga and meditation for you, the older ones. Even for little kids, it can help reduce stress. But the college, especially in the teens, those are some things that you guys can do. And then last but not least, certainly, um, ask your child or teen what support they need from you. um, your college student, ask what support they need. They'll tell you what they need. Don't just assume they need something and then you just do it and you try to fix it. Ask them what they need. And that support goes a long way, because maybe they do want just a new outfit, the one that they pick out, not the one that you pick out, but reasonable. Y'all can talk about it and compromise, because if you don't want to spend $200 on some shoes, then you shouldn't have to. Don't feel like, have your boundaries in place, but just ask them what they need, because they might want to get a pair of pants from American Eagle rather than Walmart. It could be something that simple, right? um or just have, like, maybe they want to have an after school plan, just after, for the first day of school. And that might help, just so that they know what to do, and just kind of relax them in some kind of way. And you might be able to do some kind of family activity or get together with a close friend, just after those first 1 or 2 days or the first week, so just take into consideration some of the things that I said. I hope this has been helpful to you. It has been helpful to me because yes, I see a couple of people that have come on, some of my cousins. So hey cousins, my Wetumpka cousins. And so I see one of my cousins, she's a teacher. So I know that I didn't even add, what about the teacher stress? Because I know I talked to my daughter and I was like, hey, do you want to come on and talk about some stress that kids can have about going back to school and and she was like, no, I'm having my own for tomorrow's first day of school. And I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was like, girl, calm down and breathe. And that's what I see my cousin Diepre put on there, breathe, right? Teach your kids to breathe, control their breath, right? That is, I mean, breathing, y'all say it don't work, but it works for real, for real. It works. You just have to do it correctly. And if you need help with it, find it on YouTube for real. They have you can Google about breathing exercises and they have people that do go through the video and show you how to do it. So it's really easy, but there's different types of breathing that do different things for you. So yes, breathe. And yes, Deborah, I love that you also said eat together. Where you're asking about eat together. Any tips for parents struggling with their kids' smartphone addiction? Ooh, since many fight for the phone at the dinner table. So, because I was just who I was, it was no phones at the table. Like that was just, and that's just not what we were gonna do. So you have to me personally, it's about your discipline and what you do and what you tolerate with your children. So they already know, like, we're not going to have the phone at the dinner table and I have to focus on this other stuff afterwards. So that to me is about your parenting style. But, I would, you could have a little basket or something where everybody puts their phone in, but you model it. So if I'm not using my phone, you're not using your phone, right? But a lot of times we're on our phones too. We like this instead of dealing with whatever's going on with our child. So just remember, you're the model behavior. So what you model, your kids learn. And you do have the right to discipline them. I'm not saying you got to beat them, but you have the right to discipline them. Oh yes, thank you, Kenya. I like that. Coloring is a really good way to help reduce some stress too. And even I don't want to tell you to use your phone after we just talked about that, but I know that there's some apps that help you. But I personally like to get coloring books. I do go to the dollar store, get coloring books and color in them. So you can download sheets off of the computer if you want to. Kenya also says the beginning of the school year is a great time to hit the reset button for phone use. So there you go. That's a good tip. Like, so just start back with the new rules. This is what we're gonna do this school year, right? And hold them to it. So I love that. And this is like you said, it's just like when New Year starts for all of us, and we're like, "Ooh, New Year, new me," all that kind of stuff. But school year is, it's like you said, it's reset. Fall is coming, right? It's my favorite time of the year. So yes, so fall is coming. Just make that be the reset point and then we start over. So even I'm glad you said that because we start over having a reset. So all the stuff that happened last year. So we can get through it, we can process it, all that kind of stuff, but we're starting fresh, just like every day we start fresh, right? So new school year. So I'm not gonna hold you not necessarily accountable, but I'm not gonna keep badgering you about, your grade you got in English last year. We're focusing on this year. So yes. Diepre also agreed that coloring for all ages. So yes, all ages, adults too. I do love to color. So you guys, that kind of wraps it up. That's our time. I know we went a little bit over, but thank you guys so much for commenting and joining in and adding to this discussion. And if you have any tips, any more tips that maybe I didn't cover, I'm just one person. I could use them too, y'all. Drop them in the comments in this video, and we'll still see it, because that's how social media is. It'll say so and so commented on your comment or whatever. So yes, Deborah, thanks. We should have you come back again before you leave. If I mean, I know there's time constraints and all that, but yes, I'd love to have you back on at any time, even when you leave. And same with you, Kenya. So you guys just pray for me as I'm about to start school in the next couple weeks, and I have all these trainings and orientations and all that. So um I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all go so I can go find me something to eat and try to organize my life. Okay. I love you guys too. Thank you for coming. And so, as we always say, I am here. It is now, y'all, right now. And I am alive. So we can't what can I complain about? Yes, thank you, Dr. Cuckoo Siemens. And Kenya added real quick, pray for your child's teacher. Yes. So let's just pray for each other, for our especially the teachers, because y'all, you know what, my hat's off to y'all teachers, boy. Y'all do a lot, with discipline and just trying to teach and keep your like the things that you have to do as a teacher, and especially in the grades that have like testing, like third grade, all of that kind of stuff. So yes, please pray for your child's teacher, pray for the school. So I love it. So thank you for adding that. So y'all have a great school year. Remember, there are resources available. Use them. Okay. If you need help with your child, use your resources. And always, if you need help finding somebody, reach out to me, and DM me, and I will help you find some resources. Okay. So y'all have a blessed night, and I'll see y'all maybe next week. All right. Peace.